Hello and welcome to Investing Confidential. We're going to talk about Taiwan today. Why does Taiwan matter to the world? It sounds like an obvious question, but it's very important. Okay, and then we're going to talk a bit. During the session, we'll talk a little bit about some investing implications at the end. Obviously, there'll be some recommendations, but for the first time, I'm going to ask you to like, subscribe, all that crap. I never do that before, but I feel that I might have to, or else I'm just going to lose interest in this whole thing. Anyway, so let's talk about Taiwan as the dog is barking in the background. Uh, Taiwan is very vital to the world, and it's primarily vital because of innovation. Okay, innovation, global growth, and it's really not about China per se. It kind of is, but it's really about Taiwan itself and the place it has in the society. And the easy answer, everyone looks at, oh, it's semiconductors, right? Because obviously they have the largest producers of semiconductor, or the best semiconductor producers in the world. But they're a high tech manufacturer. I mean, Apple phone screens. I mean, every little component, high end component that Apple produces is manufactured in Taiwan. They're assembled in China. Okay, phones assemble it, but the innovation, the manufacturing is in Taiwan. And it's not just Apple; it's Samsung, it's everyone, Sony, whoever manufactures any kind of Microsoft, everybody, Hewlett Packard. They all rely on exports from Taiwan. Now, as far as China is concerned, Taiwan is very important. I mean, think about it in terms of food. Okay, the largest producer of instant noodles, which is a staple in China, is Taiwan. One of the largest bottled water companies in China is Taiwan. And remember, China has a problem. 80% of the water is not drinkable, so they rely on bottled water. So Taiwan is very important. Again, also with tech components into China. I mean, Taiwan is huge, massive investor in China. By far, has the most exposure of any country in China in terms of exposure, internally and externally. And there's a problem because this all revolves around one thing. All this Taiwan stuff revolves around China because China's in trouble. Okay, China's growth has been slowing for the last number of years, and it's really slow right now. And there are political implications here, and the main reason why I believe Taiwan has become an issue more in the last few weeks is because there are major internal rifts that you could see here where it revolves in real estate in regards to the central government, which is Z, the power, and the local government, where the growth and the wealth has been for years. And as I mentioned in the past, real estate by far is the number one engine of growth in China. It has been for 20 years. Okay, end of story. Don't believe anything else. Real estate is it. And so real estate has collapsed. And it's a big problem for Z. That's why I said in previous that Z is done as this, political influence. It sounds like he's stronger than everybody's not. Okay, because there is this conflict between the central government and the local governments. Okay, and they're trying to revitalize the sector, but it's not working. Okay, the central bank is involved. Everyone's trying. The government's putting out incentives, but the people are done. Okay, they're not buying into it anymore, and that's a problem for China. So their engine of growth, they can't get it started. Z also trying to rebuild the tech sector. He destroyed it, basically put Jack Ma in jail, everything else. And now Jack Ma's come back, and he's obviously trying because this is where the jobs are, this is where the growth is around the world, and he destroyed it. So he's trying to rebuild it back. It's a major problem for Z, and he's losing a lot of power. So obviously, this is a classic wag the dog exercise. The rhetoric on Taiwan is his strategy, like the no COVID, right, which didn't work. This strategy I don't think is going to work either. But this is his strategy to sort of bring up the rhetoric and get the people back on his side because the people don't believe him anymore. Okay, this is an internal thing. The talking heads in Wall Street are not going to tell you this. For someone who's been traveling China for 25 years, I'm telling you, he doesn't have the people anymore on his side. Chinese leaders survived in the past because they had the people. He doesn't have the people. So what is he going to do? He's turning up the heat with military drills, okay, in Taiwan, surrounding it, using the U.S. as an excuse. And then what happens? Okay, the U.S. follows up with war games themselves with the Philippines. Okay, then you've got Japan stepping up militarily. They're concerned over China. They want more weapons. They want this. South Korea wants weapons. Everyone wants weapons. And then you got the EU, okay, which are not our friends. Okay, you got Macron going over there, and they're looking out for themselves. They're very dependent on China, very dependent on Taiwan, because the EU, by the way, manufactures nothing. Their largest manufacturer, Germany, it's just gone backwards. Okay, I don't know what's happened to Germany. Germany's just has become irrelevant. It used to be a powerhouse export wise, tech, everything. 10 years ago, 5 years ago. Now it's nothing. It's minuscule. So France is concerned. Everyone's concerned about what's going on with the Taiwan and the China. So Macron goes over there and just says, screw the U.S. We support you, which is really, really bad in a sense, because they're looking out for themselves and they don't care. But the implication, like everyone's talking about, is about the U.S. dollar. Okay, so maybe the U.S. dollar is weakening. I'm 100% sure it's becoming less important around the world, but not because what you're reading about. The Chinese yuan, the Chinese renminbi, is not fungible. Okay, it's not freely traded, no matter what these morons are telling you. It's not possible right now for the renminbi to be the world's currency. So the president of Brazil, who's a criminal and a socialist, can say anything he wants, and the EU can say, Russia can do anything you want. These criminals in Russia, but the bottom line is they can trade whatever they want, but they're going to take on. These guys are not going to take on Chinese yuan when it all comes down to it, because it's not fungible. You can't do anything with it. It's not tradable. Okay, if it was tradable, there'd be no Chinese yuan left. The people would be taking their money out. Remember, there's capital controls in China. So all this talk of the Chinese yuan, it's bunk. But the reality is the U.S. dollar dominance is starting to wane, and it's waning mainly because of the world is now more comfortable with digital currency. Okay, we can do exchange rates instantaneously, digitally, and not worried about going on the street and exchanging dollars for yen or whatever. Okay, so the U.S. dollar and all currencies, all fiat currencies, will start to lose not their value, but to start to lose a little bit because of this the comfortability of digital currencies. Okay, whether it's Bitcoin or whether it's some other currency or the dollar itself backed by credit cards so basically what we're moving to is a cashless society with no dominant currency. You can move money around if I can be in the UK buying something in pounds and then go 2 hours, take the train, go to France, and then buy something euros with the same card. That's what we call no dominant currency. What does that mean, folks? You got to buy gold. Gold's been around for 3,000 years. I've talked about it before. Gold's going to break out here very soon, and you got to own some gold. But let's get back to Taiwan. Okay. Politically, things are very challenging there. You got the old guard, okay, the former president, who's what they call KMT, which was the original party down there, now moving to China. Okay, he's touring China right now. You got the current president in the U.S. and the old president in China. I mean, it's crazy. So Taiwan is split politically. Okay, what does that sound like? Sound familiar? Yeah, every country split politically. Okay, where United States is split, France is split, everyone's split. With the exception of the totalitarian places like Russia, pretty much everyone is split. So this is adding tension to this U.S.-China thing, and it's adding pressure, massive pressure, to the Taiwan economy, which is already under pressure. Okay, as you can see here, exports have been falling hard for the first time in a very long time. And this has to do with demand, folks. Nothing to do with this China-U.S. crap. Okay, look at TMC, falling revenue and profits, basically due to demand. Demand has fallen off a cliff. The consumer around the world is damaged. So my question to you is, riddle me this. How is Apple stock at all-time highs when the underlying semiconductors, the underlying everything is showing that there's no demand, falling off a cliff? So Apple is getting supplied by all these suppliers who are saying there's no demand. Okay. Should Apple stock be at all-time highs? This makes no sense. Absolutely makes no sense. So you figure it out. Okay. So let's go back. What would become of Taiwan if China took control? Well, it's very easy. Look at Hong Kong. Okay. Once the engine of growth for Asia, exports, Hong Kong was dynamic. It was a fantastic place to go. Now Hong Kong is a backwater. Okay. No longer one of the three global financial centers, no matter what anyone tells you. It's no longer a financial center. Everyone's moving, everyone's gone to Singapore. All the asset managers, the hedge funds, they're all moving to Singapore or other places. And, look, Hong Kong, the rich people have way too much China exposure. They're suffering. Okay, as you can see, arrests are commonplace, and they're also fleeing to Singapore. So Hong Kong has become a backwater, and that is the future of Taiwan if, and obviously big if it were to be taken over by China. So bottom line is Taiwan is incredibly important, a lot more important than even what the talking heads are telling you about. If Taiwan were to be embargoed or taken over or whatever, the bottom line is this will be massive inflationary implications, okay? In fact, whether it's taken over or not, it is inflationary right now. So the either way, either scenario, we're seeing higher inflation. Okay, that means rates in the U.S. stay high. That means inflation stays high. The Fed's handcuffed, making policy errors left and right. The U.S. dollar is going to suffer. Okay, the U.S. economy is going to suffer, and the only place to hide is either short-term cash, gold, Bitcoin. Those are the beneficiaries. Or if you can invest overseas, there are some markets in Europe that look interesting. So, bottom line is, if you're an investor, be careful out there.